Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I'll now request the Vice Chair to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, Mr. Murshid, you mentioned that you're involved in the development of Agenda 4. Do you think that the issues that led to the formulation of this agenda have been resolved, especially those touching on our electoral democracy? Or are we still where we were in 2008?
Yes. Now, see, sir, in 2007 and 2008, the country almost broke. That is common knowledge. And the underlying reasons of that was our politics are based on ethnic lines. We are doing mobilization around ethnicity. It is not helped by the fact that once you got into office, you are able to have policies that may be skewed towards certain regions, towards certain interests. When you have politicians who have gained access into parliament, they become under the, how the party requires them to be ordered. We had issues around the way our governance structures were wired, because one of the major issues which I'll be speaking on in answering this question is we have not decolonized our state. All our systems are still remnants of the colonial system. The game changer came in the 2010 Constitution, where now we have an instrument which can take us away from colonization or colonial principles, where we have certain values and aspirations and principles of equity, of inclusivity. Even the way we are supposed to make our parties, they should not be parties that are geared on regionalism and even on interests which are ethnic in character. It has been a difficult journey because the Constitution needs to be implemented. The implementers, most of them, in any chapter of the Constitution, Parliament shall do the necessary legislation to give actualization to what has been kept there. Unfortunately, it has not been an easy process. Like I said, the colonized state still exists. And in order to walk the long route, we needed to have a parliament that was more responsive to bringing out pieces of legislation which are going to give birth to the spirit and the word of the Constitution. I'm not saying that Parliament has not been doing that. It has been. And we have all these other institutions which are in place. The National Police Service Commission, in order to overcome the problems the service faced at the time of the 07 elections, so that we have a more accountable police force, we have independent command, we have the NCIC, we have the entire chapter 15 commissions are all rooted, including the land injustices. Now, the manner in which we have been able to put in place our legislation and to put in place critical offices that were supposed to implement that, we have been running short of the spirit and the word of the Constitution. So we do have tensions which are there. We do have hate speech which is going on. We do have heightened expectations in place. We do have a populace which has become poorer, and that is also because of many other issues, the COVID pandemic being one of them. So we have a situation whereby we need to reactivate and reboot our independent institutions, and all the independent institutions also have to find ways and means of working with state organs concerned in order to formulate a proper working environment towards democratization of our republic. So if we become a joint effort, we do our civic education well. Part of it is voter education. If every one of us is able to do its part, the political parties do their part, those in charge of supervising the political parties, which means the director, the office of the director of political parties does its work, make sure that we do have proper governance structures, we do a lot of participation of the people. If Parliament does its work to churn out proper legislation, look at us today. We are going into an election in under 12 months now, or almost 12 months. We still have pieces of legislation which are critical, like the Campaign Finance Act. It's there. Part of the problems around the referendum, we need to have a referendum bill and an act. So that is yet to be done. Proper doing of the acts of Parliament, a sense of patriotism with what we do, a sense of integrity, which is both personal and institutional, proper governance structure, and making sure that all those who go against the grain of the law, the grain of the Constitution, and especially constitutional offices, which are given the necessary powers to enforce what they have to enforce. If we all resolve to do our work and make sure that we are not affected by partisan interest, by ethnic interest, by regional interest, definitely we are going to have a much better electoral process, and we'll deliver democracy for this republic.
Yeah, thank you. That's for the long term.
Yes.
Now, as you mentioned, we only have a few months to
Yes.
a major election next year.
Yes.
Assuming you're on the commission,
Yes.
how do you see the commission dealing with these things, these issues you raise?
Yes.
And what role would you play? Because
Yes.
we have all those issues. We only
Yes.
have a few months.
Yes.
And yet,
yes.
Kenyans expect
Yes.
their vote to count.
Yes.
How do we handle that?
So, insofar as our electoral processes are concerned, but more particularly insofar as the Election Commission is concerned, we have the acts in place, we have the regulations in place, we have the policies in place. I'm not trying to say that I'm going to walk into the commission and bring new things that are required, maybe a few of them. But what is more important is how are we doing our work in accordance with the Constitution, which gave birth to the laws, which gave birth to the regulations that we have made. Have we done enough? Do we have, for instance, are we able to enforce those regulations or violations of those regulations or the code? So we may want to start with the commission itself and start cleaning house. For example, do we have the necessary personnel to take on the requirements and the rigors of the next elections? You will start with looking at your structures. Do you have your CEO? Is the CEO, we still have an acting CEO. Why is that the case? So we recruit a CEO, make sure in that recruitment so that we don't go to where they were countermanded by the court. Make sure that it is done in accordance with the law, transparently, with integrity. We do have, for example, an acting assistant CEO, deputy CEO, and we don't have one deputy CEO. There are so many gaps in the structures that are there. So we look at that first of all. We make sure that it is well populated. We make sure that personnel are well trained. We make sure that we do all the things that are required in the electoral cycle that is remaining. And if there were weaknesses before, we'll try to do a quick fix. So we need to do voter education. We need to make sure that we do have sufficient money. There is no reason why the monies should get delayed by Treasury. You need to engage, stakeholder engagement. You need to be transparent about it. If you feel that that engagement is taking too much of a time, you have to come out and tell all the stakeholders, where are we? Inform stakeholders that we suffer from certain weaknesses, and you'll suddenly find that people are getting together, including the stakeholders, state stakeholders, in order to make sure that your needs and requirements are done. So it's about working to make sure that the governance structures that you have put in place are activated and put in place, and you monitor and make sure that what is there for the electoral cycle is fulfilled according to the timelines. Public participation becomes critical. So you participate, stakeholder engagement, engage with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, engage with NCIC, engage with Treasury, engage with parliamentary committees, which are supposed to bring in the new laws, because we must have the laws, according to Kriegler, in good time, because otherwise it will delay certain critical processes in the electoral cycle. So if we don't engage and we go on a flying start going forward, because the commission has been working with very few commissioners, it's not fully constituted, in the sense that several and critical areas of functioning of the commission has become strained. So you come in, and with the experiences that I've had, not only in working in commissions, but even working in a commission that starts from its very foundation. So that is what I'll be able to bring in: stakeholder engagement, working with the law, and always leaning on the law.
Thank you for that. Now, this is a scenario, just a scenario I'm painting. You are in charge as a commission now, supposing you're appointed.
Yes.
And you're responsible for elections in a certain region.
Yes.
As a commissioner, and you have a number of staff below you, working below you, IBC staff.
Yes.
In the field, and the staff rebel against you.
Yes.
Because of your attitude.
Yes.
Or leadership style.
Yes.
What would you do?
You see, in that scenario, to begin with, you must have come from somewhere for you to carry that attitude. So, to begin with, if you have an attitude which does not bring everyone together, if you have an authoritarian attitude, if you have an attitude that does not give proper vision, proper training to your staff members, that rebellion is what you should expect. So number one, first of all, because the scenario is you're already at it, I would like to go back to a situation whereby, with proper orientation in the first place, with proper training in the first place, you ought not to be in that scenario. It is a strange scenario for me, because I have never participated in any of my workings before to get staff rebelling against me or challenging my authority, because you have always worked in a manner that you're taking their issues on board, you are respecting yourself, and you respect other people, including your workers, you are properly oriented, you have trained them on the vision, they own the work of the commission. So saying that it will be a strange scenario to find me in, but even as you are in that scenario, you need to have a sit down and discuss what are the issues which are being raised. Some of those issues be raised may be valid, which you have to retrospect and change, or some of the issues may be because of lack of understanding between one another of the job which you have in place. I believe that it is good if you have a very good working relationship, but I also believe that you may not have everybody loving you or liking you. That is normal, but
Thank you.
You put the work in front and you continue working.
Thank you,
Keep
Mr.
egos
Mushi.
aside.
Thank you.
Thank you.